The story begins as a hardcore gamer from Japan finishes a game he spent 3 years playing. Instead of feeling satisfied, he is deeply disappointed, calling the game trash and wishing for something that would take at least 10 years to complete. Without hesitation, he searches online for a brutally difficult game with terrible balancing. Instantly, his screen changes to a mysterious fantasy world, and an unknown company offers him a never-ending game set in a world of swords and magic. Intrigued, he checks the difficulty settings. Alongside easy and normal, he notices a strange option called Hell Mode. The description warns that despair is inevitable and that leveling up requires 100 times more experience than usual. Having heard such warnings countless times, he feels no fear and selects Hell Mode without hesitation. When choosing a class, he sees many familiar options, but one stands out, the Summoner class, which has a higher difficulty rating than any other and is still in alpha testing. Curious and excited by the challenge, he selects it and starts the game. The moment he does, he vanishes, leaving behind an empty room. His next sensation is warmth and comfort, which suddenly turns into suffocating pressure. Moments later, he is born into a new world as a baby. His father joyfully holds him and names him Alan. Despite once being a 35-year-old man named Kenichi Yamada, broke, uneducated, and socially awkward, he quickly accepts his new identity and life. Though only 1 year old, he can think clearly and understands language, realizing Japanese is spoken in this world. Alan is born into a serf family living in a frontier village that has yet to be named. His father, Roden, is a hardworking and devoted man, while his mother, Teresia, is kind and gentle. Alan is their only child for now, but he senses that siblings will come eventually. When left alone one night, Alan tries to open his stat window, only to fail repeatedly. Though life as a baby feels peaceful, he wants to confirm his role as a summoner. After countless attempts, a glowing book finally appears before him. Startled, he screams, prompting his parents to rush in. He quickly dismisses the book and pretends to sleep. Once alone again, he summons it back and confirms his status, Level 1, Class Summoner. The grimoire explains that summoning and creation are separate skills that gain experience through use. Though his experience is at 0, he already has access to summoning insects and beasts, limited to the lowest H rank. The grimoire then displays a message from the god of creation, Elmia, apologizing for the delayed delivery of his grimoire due to the summoner class still being under testing. Elmia warns that class changes and questions are not allowed. Accepting this, Alan attempts to summon an insect but fails. After experimenting, he realizes he must use the create skill first, which produces an H-rank insect card. Encouraged, he tries summoning it but stops when his mother enters. Deciding to wait. The next day, he successfully summons the insect, which manifests as a giant grasshopper that immediately ignores him. Checking the grimoire, Alan names it Denka and learns that its stats provide buffs to his own abilities. Excited, he accidentally speaks aloud, alarming his mother. Seeing the insect, his mother panics and crushes it instantly, ending Alan's first summoning. Over the following days, Alan experiments further and creates an H-rank mouse named Mousy. While unintelligent, his summons obey commands. He learns that storing summon cards boosts his stats directly, and by collecting 10 Mousies, his attack increases significantly. Even so, Hell Mode's extreme experience requirements slow his progress. One evening, Roden returns home covered in blood, explaining he hunted a massive boar. He takes Alan to see it, giving him his first look at a real monster. Along the way, Roden explains that Alan was named after Albiherans, migratory birds symbolizing freedom. Alan later learns that the Great Boar is a C-rank monster, requiring 20 men to defeat, giving him a valuable benchmark for strength. Nearly 2 years old, Alan reaches level 2 in summoning and creation, unlocking new features such as fusion, notes, and increased inventory space. He can now create G-rank creatures, though his limited MP prevents advanced actions. By age 3, he successfully fuses cards and summons several G-rank creatures, including a bird named Chappie with voice mimicry, a frog named Hopper with provoke abilities, and a mole named Molly capable of digging traps. He realizes that mastering a summoner depends on understanding buffs and synergy, making this the hardcore experience he always wanted. Despite his growth, Alan is still a child. He regularly duels Gerda's daughter, Krana, who overwhelms him with her speed and strength. Though embarrassed, he takes the fight seriously. Even after being beaten, he helps his pregnant mother with chores, showing maturity beyond his years. He asks to help with farm work, but his parents refuse, wanting him to enjoy his childhood. Alan later learns about the appraisal ceremony held at age 5, which determines one's talent and could help him escape serfdom. As winter arrives, he notices Denka can now remain summoned all day, marking real progress. Life continues with training, play fights, and family moments until one night, Denka startles Teresia, triggering early labor. With help from Kraina's mother, Teresia gives birth to a healthy baby boy named Mash. Watching his family grow, Alan reflects on his reincarnation. While his goal remains to maximize his power, he realizes that this new life, surrounded by warmth and responsibility, means more to him than he ever expected. Determined, he vows to free his family from the hardships of serfdom and protect them with the strength he continues to build. When Alan turns 5, it is finally time for the appraisal ceremony, so he asks his father what it involves. Roden explains that everyone in the country, from serfs to nobles, must undergo this ceremony at age 5. If a child is discovered to have a talent, it can become a path out of serfdom, but competition is fierce. Since the land was settled, families have had many children, and a large number of kids are reaching appraisal age at the same time. As Roden explains this, Kraina arrives and suggests they go together, since she is the same age. She excitedly declares that if she is appraised as a swordswoman, she will become a knight. As they approach the village, Alan notices some children dressed far better than they are and realizes that not all commoners live at the same level. He also overhears people assuming he must be a serf because of his dark hair and eyes. Before the ceremony begins, 3 priests emerge from the church and announce that Elmia, the god of creation, grants opportunity equally to all. They remind everyone that some of the nation's greatest heroes came from humble origins, such as Clasus the Saintess and Diverg the Swordlord. This triggers Alan's memory of the game's internal rules, where special classes like Hero and Swordlord must originate from lower social classes. He realizes these game mechanics apply directly to this world, which explains why everyone must undergo the same appraisal. Inside the church, Alan notices statues of the gods and immediately recognizes Elmia, the same god who once sent him a message through his grimoire. The appraisal begins with the village chieftain Deboji's son, Palomas. The priests instruct him to place his hand on a crystal ball, explaining that his talents and attributes will be engraved onto a metal plate behind him. When Palomas does so, his information appears, and he is revealed to have the merchant talent. His father is overjoyed, and Alan realizes that simply having any talent at all is considered a blessing. Attributes are displayed as ranks rather than numbers, which Alan confirms by discreetly checking his grimoire. As the ceremony continues, he learns that many children have no talent whatsoever, reinforcing how important the appraisal truly is. Another boy, Dogora, is revealed to have the axe user talent, along with an A-rank attribute, the highest seen so far. Alan notices that high attribute ranks seem to require a compatible talent. Eventually, it is Kraina's turn. She eagerly places her hand on the crystal ball, which begins glowing intensely. The crowd reacts in shock as her talent is revealed to be Swordlord, one of the rarest and most powerful talents. Alan, however, finds the result completely unsurprising, as it explains her overwhelming strength. Finally, Alan steps forward, confident that his summoner class will be revealed. When he touches the crystal ball, it shines brighter than ever and even knocks him backward. Roden rushes to check on him, but Alan reassures him casually. When the priest reads the result, however, he announces that Alan has no talent. The mood collapses instantly. Alan checks the metal plate himself and discovers that the section where his talent should appear is glitched and unreadable. Frustrated, he internally curses the god of creation for failing to fix such a basic issue, knowing that no one will recognize him as a summoner. Despite the disappointment, Roden takes Alan home, where Teresia comforts him. During dinner, both parents assure him that talents do not define his worth and that he will always be their pride. Alan reflects that although they are poor and lack even basic comforts, he is genuinely happy to be part of this family. Later that night, he checks his grimoire and sees that all his attributes are ranked E. He realizes that this is because he alone is playing on Hell mode. Since everyone else is level 1 like him, their ranks reflect normal growth, while his progress is scaled down by a factor of 100. What would discourage most people only motivates him further, reinforcing his resolve to prove the value of hardcore difficulty. Some time later, Alan notices that his father has been acting strangely. Soon after, they attend a celebration at Gerda's house for Kraina's Swordlord talent. Kraina proudly announces that Swordlord is even better than Swordswoman, while Alan pretends to be impressed. Roden behaves coldly during the gathering, and tensions rise when Gerda reveals that Roden said he intended to cut ties with their family. Roden explains that because Kraina may rise to knighthood or nobility, it would be improper for her to associate with serfs. Alan realizes his father is trying to protect them by distancing himself. The argument escalates until Matilda and Teresia step in to calm everyone down. Once things settle, the adults reminisce about the past, revealing that the two families have been close since childhood. They had settled the land together years ago and even built their houses side by side. Drinking together helps Roden and Gerda reconcile. The following day, news spreads that the Order of Knights is coming to see Kraina. As crowds gather, Dogra mocks Alan for being talentless, but Krena immediately defends him. Before the conflict escalates further, the Knight Captain Zenov arrives. Zenov explains that falsifying appraisal results is punishable by death and demands proof of Krena's swordlord talent through a duel. Despite Gerda's protests, Krena is forced to fight or face execution along with her family. Without fear, Krena eagerly takes a real sword for the first time and challenges the vice-captain, Lebron. Although initially outmatched, she quickly demonstrates overwhelming power and skill, eventually breaking his sword in half. The duel confirms her talent beyond doubt. With no room for denial, Zenov apologizes and praises Gerda for raising a sword lord. He explains that because of Krena, the village will now be renamed Krena Village in her honor. He further clarifies that strict verification exists because nobles have previously falsified talents. Krena will later be sent to an academy and eventually serve the royal family. As the meeting ends, Zenov also recognizes Roden for his achievements as a boar hunter, revealing that even serfs can earn respect through merit. Roden tells Alan that he will accomplish great things too, and the scene closes with both father and son secretly sneaking fruit home for their family, quietly reaffirming their bond. After some time passes, Alan finally manages to level up his summon skill. Excited, he immediately opens his grimoire to check his status and finds that he has unlocked an enhanced version of the skill, allowing him to strengthen his summons directly. He also gains access to F-rank creatures, which he had expected, though unlocking new types still requires fusion, just like when he created Chappie. His card inventory expands from 20 to 30 slots, giving him room for more buffs and effectively increasing his overall strength. Since it took 2 full years to level up this skill, Alan knows he will need to experiment carefully later. That night, Alan volunteers to do the dishes so Teresia can rest. As she is pregnant again, Teresia mentions that the baby's movements feel gentle, making her think it might be a girl. As they talk, Alan notices his MP fully recovering and checks his grimoire, where he finds a message from Elmia, the god of creation. He accidentally reads the name aloud, surprising his parents. Roden scolds him for casually speaking the Lord's name, and Teresia comments that Alan has been acting strangely. Alan quickly changes the subject, pointing out that the scar on Roden's arm looks better. Roden explains that during today's boar hunt, he passed a trial of the gods, a phenomenon where hunters suddenly regain strength, heal wounds, and lose exhaustion. Alan pretends to be impressed, but internally assumes this is simply how leveling up is described in this world. Even though Roden cannot see his own stats, Alan suspects his father must be a fairly high level by now. In contrast, Alan himself is still level 1, and he knows he will never gain experience unless he fights monsters. However, serfs are forbidden from leaving the village without permission, except for hunting. When Alan hints that he would like to join a hunt, Roden immediately refuses, emphasizing how dangerous it is. That night, Alan checks his grimoire again and reads Elmia's message properly. As expected, the glitch from his appraisal ceremony has finally been fixed. The message explains that his E-rank stats were due to Hell Mode's slower growth, and an attachment displays his true raw data. Alan sees that his MP and intelligence are S-rank, which makes sense for a summoner. His overall distribution of ranks matches Krena's, so he feels satisfied with the balance. Without wasting time, he begins experimenting with his enhanced skill, starting by enhancing Denka. The creature's stats increase directly, confirming that enhancements affect summons themselves rather than his personal buffs. When Alan summons Denka, he can tell it is stronger just by looking at it, even though it has not grown larger. This excites him, proving that summoning is not just about size or brute force. However, Teresia suddenly enters the room and panics at the sight of Denka, stepping on it instantly under the assumption that it is just a giant bug. The next day, after repeated testing, Alan learns that enhancements remain permanently on a card. As long as he has enough MP, enhancing every card in his inventory is the optimal strategy. Alan continues testing fusion combinations to unlock a new creature type. The last option left is fusing an F-rank insect with an F-rank bird. This finally succeeds, granting him a new card. But the result disappoints him, a grass-type F-rank creature. He had not even known grass could be a summonable type and expected something more combat-oriented. Still, he checks its buffs and is pleased to find that it provides an MP buff, significantly increasing how much he can do in a single day. Given how slow his progression is, this buff could save him years of effort. When he summons the creature, an apple with arms and legs appears. Alan names it Oppo without much thought, assuming it is not meant for combat. Oppo demonstrates its skill, Aroma, by sinking into the ground and causing a plant to sprout, growing to shoulder height and emitting a pleasant scent like essential oil. Alan is confused by its purpose, but when Teresia sees it, she simply comments on how nice it smells. Alan later determines that Aroma reduces MP recovery time from 6 hours to 5, allowing him to be more active each day. After lunch, Kraina visits to practice swordplay, easily defeating Alan as usual. However, she remarks that he feels a bit tougher than before. Surprised, Alan checks his grimoire and finds his sword mastery has reached level 3. He also realizes that his expanded inventory has allowed him to increase his endurance and attack. He wonders if Aroma also provides combat-related buffs. Remembering Fido's attack skill, Chomp, he feels eager to test it but knows he cannot use it on people. Later, Alan continues practicing his throwing skill in the backyard, having thrown tens of thousands of rocks with no sign of leveling up. Alan considers quitting, knowing his time might be better spent on summoning, but the thought of being one throw away from leveling up keeps him going. He also notices that the area around their house has become overgrown, essentially turning into a garden, and confirms through testing that Oppo's skill is responsible. That night, Rodin is late returning home. Soon after, villagers arrive carrying his injured body. He was gored in the stomach by a boar, and the wound was cauterized to save his life using a rare healing flower purchased with gold given as an apology after Kraina's appraisal incident. Gerda explains that commoners were allowed to join the hunt due to Rodin's reputation, but they panicked, causing the accident. Rodin was injured while saving one of them. Though the boar was slain, Rodin will need time to recover. Alan stays by his father's side all night, reflecting on how selfishly he has been focused on power rather than purpose. He resolves to protect his family. When Rodin wakes, Alan promises to take responsibility and keep them safe. He begins helping with heavy labor, surprising everyone with his strength. Deciding it is time to stop holding back, Alan reallocates his buffs from MP to physical stats, prioritizing his family over long-term growth. As he helps with daily work, even Gerda is impressed by his strength. Despite the hardships of serf life and the heavy taxes imposed by the Baron, the villagers show kindness and support. Alan grows even more determined. The next day, he creates a large testing area and attempts to trap birds using Hopper's provoke skill. While waiting, a dangerous B-rank monster, an Albahiran, appears instead and begins killing his summons. Realizing the danger, Alan considers fleeing but notices his enhanced skill has reached level 2, doubling its effect. Believing this may be his chance to truly help his family, he attacks the Albahiran with his wooden sword and summons Fido to fight. However, the monster overwhelms him easily, destroying his summons one by one. As each summon falls, Alan realizes he is losing buffs and growing weaker, a critical weakness of being a summoner. As the Albahiran looms over him, Alan begins to fear that this might be the end. Alan experiences true fear for the first time as he is pinned down by the Albahiran. The monster's beak inches closer to his face, its jagged edge cutting into his cheek as blood runs down his skin. In desperation, Alan relies on instincts developed from countless hours of gaming in his past life. Even without fully understanding his abilities, he shouts out the name of a summon, Sucker, trusting that its name hints at its function. A leech-like insect appears and launches itself onto the Albahiran's neck, draining it while clinging tightly. The monster shrieks and thrashes violently, giving Alan just enough opportunity to escape from under its feet. Alan quickly realizes that the leech's ability works like an energy drain, weakening the monster. Using his body weight and sword, he forces it onto its back and strangles it to death. The grimoire appears and confirms his victory. He has defeated his first monster and earned 100 experience points. This moment overwhelms Alan with excitement and nostalgia, reminding him of finishing his first RPG in his past life. He reflects on how real combat is far more dangerous than games, especially at level 1 with only rank F summons. He realizes it will take 10 such kills to level up, reinforcing how hard progression will be in this world. Alan returns home carrying the Albahiran's corpse despite his small 6-year-old body. Rodin quickly notices the precise injuries on the monster and realizes how intelligently Alan fought it. Gerda soon arrives, and offers to take care of the monster, which Alan initially assumes means butchering it. Gerda explains the harsh reality: monsters technically belong to the feudal lord, and a 60% tax applies, even to hunted creatures. Rank D monsters like Albahirans cannot be ignored. However, because Rodin was injured due to the village chief's decisions, Gerda believes there is room to negotiate better terms for Alan. At the village chief's house, Gerda and Alan present the monster and begin negotiations. Using a strategy Alan devised, they first propose extremely favorable terms, letting Rodin's family keep all the meat in exchange for only the feathers. When this is rejected, they add the magic stone to the offer, making it more acceptable while still benefiting Alan's family. The village chief ultimately agrees, allowing Alan's family to keep the meat while handing over feathers and magic stones as tax. Alan cleverly pushes further, securing permission to apply the same deal to future Albahiran and to hand in taxes directly to the collector instead of transporting entire monsters each time. After some resistance, the chief relents. It's a done deal. Alan is now routinely hunting alba heron on his own in his family's fallow fields. Even when two alba herons descend at once, a situation he hadn't planned for, he still manages to win without losing a single summon. Through repeated battles, Alan has developed a precise and reliable hunting strategy, effectively turning monster hunting into a repeatable farming process. After killing another alba heron, Alan finally reaches 1000 XP and levels up for the first time after 6 years. Alan carefully examines his updated status window and notices several important mechanics. Leveling up fully restores HP and MP, unlike skill level-ups that drain MP completely. Alan returns home carrying 2 alba herons, shocking his family yet again. Roden's health has improved, but Alan remains concerned about his father overexerting himself. Alan reflects on his progress. He has now killed 10 alba herons, securing enough meat to barter for winter firewood. However, he also realizes how steep progression remains. His next level will require twice as many kills, making it unlikely he'll level up again this year. That evening, Alan notices growing concern from his parents. His strength, efficiency, and maturity no longer match what could be explained by talent alone. Recognizing this, Alan decides it's finally time to tell them the truth, at least part of it. He asks to speak with them privately. Alan explains that he received a message from the Elmia, the god of creation, when he was a child, granting him wisdom and strength along with nearly impossible trials. He deliberately uses religious terminology instead of game concepts, framing his abilities in a way his parents can understand. Teresia reacts with fear and anguish at the cruelty of these divine trials, while Roden remains calm and perceptive. Roden correctly deduces that Alan must have overcome his first trial today, pointing out that the scar from Alan's first alba heron fight has completely vanished. He confirms that he feels significantly stronger, officially acknowledging that he has passed his first trial of the gods. Alan explains the mystery of his appraisal ceremony. His stats reflected the speed of his growth, not his potential, and his talent was unreadable because it was something entirely new. While this satisfies his parents, Alan intentionally withholds the truth about being a summoner and about his reincarnation, understanding how dangerous or confusing that knowledge could be. Teresia, overwhelmed by emotion, hugs Alan tightly, realizing how much suffering he has endured alone. Roden expresses regret that Alan didn't confide in them earlier but ultimately supports his resolve. He reassures Alan that his parents will always support him if he needs help. Winter has fully arrived, and December begins with gentle snowfall. The alba herons have finished migrating, marking the end of Alan's hunting season. Before they disappeared, however, Alan successfully hunted 6 more birds, bringing his total to 16. He butchered all of them properly, and the tax collector recently came to take their feathers, magic stones, and 60% of the family's potato harvest. As a result of Alan's efforts, an enormous amount of meat now hangs in the garden to dry, roughly 150 kilograms in total. Some of it has already been fully preserved, ensuring the family's winter survival. Alan and Gerda head out together to the village's residential area to purchase firewood and salt, 2 essentials for winter. This trip also serves as Alan's practical lesson in trade. Although Gerda likely knows about Alan's divine trials, he treats him no differently than before. On the way, Alan questions the difference between serfs and commoners. Gerda explains that serfs are taxed heavily, 60% of everything they produce, while commoners instead pay a fixed annual tax per person. Alan asks how one becomes a commoner, and learns that it usually requires paying 10 gold coins per person, though rare exceptions exist where status is granted as a reward. This gives Alan a concrete long-term goal, 50 gold coins to free his family from serfdom. Upon reaching the village's commercial district, Gerda teaches Alan proper trading etiquette. At the salt shop, there is no bargaining, just direct exchange. Gerda trades great boar meat for salt, carefully verifying its quality. Alan follows suit with alba heron meat, nervous at first, but learns that it holds equal value to great boar meat. At the general store, Alan observes more friendly bartering, exchanging meat for fruit. Throughout the trip, Alan carefully memorizes store locations, merchant attitudes, and exchange rates, treating this like another system to optimize. Finally, they visit the firewood merchant, where Alan trades 1 block of meat for 4 heavy bundles of firewood. After some days, Alan goes alone to residential area. He carefully studies prices and values. At the salt merchant, he trades 5 blocks of meat for 10 scoops of salt and learns that this exchange equals 5 silver coins. At the general store, he compares fruit prices, learning that popo fruit is far more valuable than malmo. From these interactions, Alan builds a clear internal price chart. He discovers that 1 kilogram of alba heron meat is equivalent in value to salt, fruit, or 4 days' worth of firewood. Alan also learns the full currency hierarchy, from iron coins to gold coins. and ties this knowledge directly to his long-term goal of buying his family's freedom from serfdom. Using the salt merchant's valuation, Alan calculates that one Alba heron is worth roughly 1 silver coin per kilogram, or 10 silvers per bird. This means he would need to hunt 500 Alba herons to reach the 50 gold coins required for commoner status. Rather than being discouraged, he treats this as trivial, his gamer mindset reframing the goal as a manageable grind. As he continues exploring, Alan notices the drugstore and enters out of curiosity. Inside, he learns that MP-recovery medicine exists but is prohibitively expensive. While browsing herbs, Alan discovers a new function of his grimoire: he can store images, not just text. Alan asks about the flower of Mueller's. The shopkeeper's emotional reaction reveals the backstory of how Gerda saved Roden's life. Despite suffering a massive financial loss, she sold the flower at a discount based purely on Gerda's desperation and sincerity. Alan recognizes the depth of that sacrifice and repays it not with money, but with gratitude, giving her a block of meat and bowing deeply. Afterward, Alan visits the weapons store, discovering it also functions as a general hardware shop, another sign of the village's limited scale. He considers upgrading from wooden swords, as they frequently break during hunts, but the prices are far too high. Even the cheapest iron bar costs the equivalent of 2 Alba herons. In front of the shop, Dogra confronts him. Dogra treats the village center as his territory and tries to assert dominance. When pushed, Alan lowers his firewood, not in surrender, but preparation, mirroring his past life response to player killers. Alan doesn't enjoy PvP, but when forced into it, he responds decisively and without hesitation. When Alan draws his wooden sword, Dogra returns armed with a crude weapon and charges blindly. Alan calmly parries every strike, showing overwhelming technical superiority. He avoids attacking at first, carefully considering how to end the fight without causing real injury. One decisive exchange and Alan ends the fight with the tip of his wooden sword at Dogra's nose, absolute dominance without drawing blood. Time passes quickly. Alan is about to turn 7, he defeats Dogra every time with ease. He tells Dogra to don't pull a muscle by overexerting himself and try to anticipate his moves. On the other hand, Mash now trains daily and shows clear aptitude with a spear rather than a sword. Alan eagerly anticipates Mash's appraisal ceremony, already confident that his brother will possess a spear-related class. Life at home has also changed. Teresia safely gives birth to a daughter, Muella, named after the flower of Mueller's that once saved Roden's life. Roden has fully recovered and returned to farming, while Alan splits his days between helping in the fields and training in the afternoons. The tone shifts sharply during dinner. Roden returns late after being summoned by Deboji, the village chief. The feudal lord is demanding that the village double its great boar output, from 10 to 20 hunts within 2 years, and to complete this demand he wants commoners join the hunt again this year. This is not a suggestion. It is pressure backed by authority. If the village cannot meet a quota of 15 great boars this year, he will forcibly relocate serfs from other villages to increase the hunting pool. Alan, listening quietly, steps in, not emotionally, but analytically. He points out the obvious flaw: increasing hunt frequency will exhaust hunters, increase casualties, and still fail long-term. Even if they somehow meet this year's quota, the problem will only worsen next year. Recognizing that logic alone cannot solve the problem, he asks his parents to trust him and allow him to try solving the problem his way.